All right, guys. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're recording. All right, guys. So I know we tried to go live a couple times, and I am so sorry that I cannot figure out technology. That's okay. That's why I'm a photographer and not a Facebook person. So today I'm meeting with Terry from Terry K Events, and we are going to be discussing all the challenges that we've had so far with weddings and the coronavirus. And Terry was one of the first people that I thought of to discuss this with because she's been in the industry for quite some time. She's a trusted person within the industry, super talented, and she's one of the go-to people that I would go to if I number one wanted to plan a wedding, but particularly during something like this. Because of her expertise and her ability to be able to handle these types of situations fairly eloquently. So, Terry, I will let you take it away and just let us know how you've been navigating the situation with not only just your couples, but also vendors.
Thank you, Candace. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on with you and just talking to all your followers and anyone else out there that might be going through this or just curious how things are going down right now in the wedding industry. It's definitely affecting our clients. It's definitely affecting vendors, and it's challenging. It's really hard. So obviously this kicked in back in March, and in the beginning, we didn't know as much about it, and we've definitely learned along the way. But we did have to start postponing weddings back in March. And many of them we postponed till later in the summer, thinking that we would, this would be cleared up or we'd at least have more information. I don't think anyone could have imagined how this developed. And to the extreme, it's gone to the point where I'm in double postponements at this point, and even talking about postponements into fall. So I've been talking to a lot of vendors as well and just getting updates from them. And I will say that many vendors have shared with me that their current clients haven't talked postponement, and I'm talking about summer brides, may have a day of planner where their planning package hasn't kicked in yet, which would maybe be a 30-day out or even a 2-week out planning package. They need to be considering postponement at this point, or they need to have some real talk, is what I'm calling it, of what their wedding's going to look like. So I will take you through how we've been doing postponements with my clients. First of all, we are obviously just talking daily. I'm talking daily with my clients, trying to figure out what they want to do and if they're okay with the current vision of what a wedding would be. The current vision of what a wedding would be in Virginia, in Fauquier County, because even Northern Virginia allowed, and we're still not open for events above 10 people. So in Fauquier County, you could currently, starting Friday, have a wedding for 50 people.
Okay.
That means that, 50 guests, it does, from what we've been told, it has not been made 100% clear, but from what we've been told, that does not include staffing. So your typical wedding, even 50 people, would have a staff of 10 to 15 vendors there. So with that, 50 guests plus staffing gets you to about 65 people at the event. All staff will be wearing masks. And I've been told by certain people it's not 100% confirmed because, again, everything is happening daily. Even in Virginia, they're changing things daily. But some things that have come up are no longer can't use china or glassware, so you might have disposables. Your numbers are obviously at 50 guests. Your venue needs to be able to accommodate 50 guests at 6 feet apart, which not all venues can do. They have rigid cleaning instructions, catering companies do, that they have to sanitize everything every 60 minutes. That's like additional staffing. It's just a very different visual. So your guests, your clients need to know that. Vendors need to know that too. Vendors have every right to know what they're walking into and if they're going to be safe, because they're putting themselves in front of 50 people they've never met. They might know the client, but they certainly don't know the client's extended family or guest list. And so vendors also have the right to know like what's kind of happening or what the expectations would be if you did have a wedding for 50 people next week. I'd say a lot of guests aren't comfortable with that. They might not be comfortable with dropping their guest list, or they're just uncomfortable with everything that's going on because they know that a lot of their guests won't show up. And so they want to postpone. If they decide to postpone, the postponement process is pretty simple. We get their 3 top dates from their venue. Client, will obviously pick the 3 top dates. Things to be aware of if you are picking a date from a venue for 2020 or even later in the fall, it's very likely you will not get a Saturday. Saturdays are not available. They're already booked out. I mean, weddings book out over a year in advance. So most clients are not going to get a Saturday. They might not even have a Friday. And if you're talking peak season fall, like September, October, you might be in a Thursday window. That also changes the dynamic of your event. There's a lot of people that won't be able to travel for a Thursday wedding or may not come anyway. So overall, it might affect, your final guest count, again, needing to be at that 50 mark. It may go up by that time, but there's no guarantee at this point. So it helps with your numbers, especially if you have a 100-person wedding. You can't have everyone there. How do you want to invite guests that you've already sent a save the date for? That's another piece of it. So there's just a lot of factors that you have to talk about. But once we figure out the 3 top dates, we send it to vendors. I take a poll. We choose the date based on it's sad to say because it is financial at this point. It's personal money. We have to make smart financial decisions, but it's going to be based on your vendors that cost the most. So obviously venue first for the date, catering, photography, videography, they're the big players that we want to make sure it works with. Our goal is that it works for everybody, but typically we have to move and we have to possibly move on without 1 or 2 vendors. It's going to be just someone that they didn't have a big deposit with, things like that.
Okay.
I will say I've been very lucky that most of my clients, we moved quickly and early, and we continue to plan. I have backup plans for all my fall weddings currently. Like that's what we're working on. We're working through backup plans. I'm trying to protect all my clients and all my vendors so it can continue. They can continue to postpone if they have to. So right now, I will say most vendors it worked out very well for that. We've been able to keep our whole vendor team.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like most of us in the industry are trying to be as accommodating as possible, but it is becoming increasingly difficult just because there are so many reschedules. And then on top of that, couples that are trying to get married in 2021 as well. And that really does lessen the number of dates that are available. So I feel like vendors and then also new brides and grooms are kind of scrambling to, find dates that are going to be available. It's going to be probably twice as hard for 2021.
I agree. And I don't think we're through postponements yet. I think postponements are going to continue. And I know that, like I said, I am already on round 2 of postponements for my early March weddings that went to summer. Now the summers are moving to 2021. At that point, I don't recommend them going to fall because we still don't have an answer for fall. And the last thing I want to do is go through this a 3rd time. That's a lot for these couples to manage and handle. It's emotional. People are really emotionally attached to their dates too. So that's also hard for them to let go of. But I think in those situations, there's nothing wrong with still having and celebrating that day and doing like a mini wedding, a little micro wedding. There's ways to have the best of everything. So we do have to think creatively and talk about just alternative options because you don't have to have the exact vision. If your vision has to change, you can still have so many pieces of that vision come together and come to life. So I've had some clients that say no matter what, they're still getting married on that date. And some of my past clients already eloped. So they did their elopement. They had their photographer there. They had shared a cupcake. It was adorable. They had beautiful photos of their sweet elopement, but they're still planning on doing the big party later. So it's the perfect compromise. You get the best of everything. I have another couple in August that, they want to start a family. They don't really want to wait any longer, and I can't blame them. So they're ready to start. They're ready to bring down their guest list to 50 guests. Their wedding was for 120. They're okay with that compromise to make sure the day still happens. And then I have other weddings that we're expecting 300-400 people. We've moved to 2021. There's just, even cutting that guest list, it almost makes it impossible. So
right.
Yeah.
So for those people that are maybe considering having their wedding now, have you talked to them at all about like some of the advantages of bringing down the guest list, like being able to do like more elaborate florals that they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise, having more portrait time, some of those things that maybe they would be able to have now that they would have a little bit more of an extended budget because they're not going to have as many guests?
Absolutely. That the micro weddings are a hot topic right now, and it's an amazing alternative to what's happening. So for my clients that are at the 120 that definitely want to do their 50-person wedding no matter what, they are going to have, we're going to knock it out of the park with florals now. Their floral budget just doubled. Their wedding is less than 2 months away. They're not getting any deposits back. They're not getting any money back. So at this point, the money has already been spent. So let's, jazz it up a little bit, upgrade their linens, upgrade their flowers, add more time, make sure that they have more portrait time with their photographer, ensure that the photographer can get in there and take photos of the room, because now it's going to be it's going to be triple as beautiful, it's going to be amazing. So I do think, micro weddings are a great option and alternative, and there's positives to moving forward with your date. The one thing I'm encouraging every single person I talk to is do not cancel. Canceling at this point it sounds like the easy answer because I know they're upset, but it's not the right answer. They're going to walk away from so much money. The vendors, at this point, vendors are not able to give money back. A lot of them are in a position where they just can't. It's really hit vendors in a hard way. And contractually, most vendors don't owe any money back. It's just a sensitive topic that vendors don't like to talk about, clients don't want to hear, but majority of vendors are not legally bound to give money back at this point. Mm-hmm. So it's best to move forward and make it as beautiful and as special as possible.
Right. Yeah. And speaking to that, because I know that this has been a huge topic, the refunds of retainer payments, and there's been a lot of arguments on both sides. Mm-hmm. How have you been advising your clients that are considering walking away, and what the expectations really should be regarding retainers?
I, again, straight talk with my clients, flat out, they will not be getting any money back. The best thing they could do is, if they're going to walk away, is find other alternative ways to use that money. So for example, they decide they're just going to elope and not have wedding photos. Then talk to your photographer and say, will you at least capture the elopement? Or would you maybe consider doing a 1-year anniversary package for us? Or, there's lots of creative ways to spend that money. Maybe do a Christmas shoot with your entire family later down the year. There's ways you can spend that money if you really decide to walk away. Catering, throw a party, Christmas party, birthday party, something. There's always reasons to celebrate, and God knows I can throw a party over anything. So yes. If they need ideas on how to spend their money, I'm happy to tell them. But walking away to me is, I understand the reason behind it. This has it's really stolen the joy for a lot of couples. So it's just finding the joy and finding a reason to celebrate. And it may not be in a month from now. You might just have to table it and push it to 2021 just so you have time to think about it and get excited about your wedding.
Right.
Or celebration or party or whatever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I actually was one of those people that did a very tiny wedding, and there was not a pandemic going on, but I think that there's a lot of joy that can be surrounded by having a smaller wedding, even if it wasn't your first choice. What I tell all of my couples, even in the beginning, if they're planning a 200-person wedding or a 50-person wedding, it's about the couple, it's about the two of them being married, and it's about the marriage that comes after. And I know that there's a lot of disappointment around, the wedding days not being what people have envisioned, but I think it can still be amazing, because it's not about necessarily the production, although it's wonderful to be able to do that. But, at the end of the day, it's about the two of them being married. So I think that there's a lot of great alternatives, which sounds like you're sharing with your clients anyway.
I am. I like, I like a challenge. Not that I would ever wish this on anyone, but I do like the challenge of figuring out how to make it work. That's probably why I'm in this industry. It's just, there's always a challenge with it. I think people can also do like a hybrid wedding where they're still doing the elopement, videotaping it, sharing it, and then doing the barbecue, next summer if they had to. Or there's just so many options out there. I feel like the idea of walking away when there are other alternatives to still having a really beautiful, intimate, special day is the one thing we want to avoid, especially for all my vendors. None of us want to see a wedding cancel ever.
No, and I think a lot of us become like very emotionally invested in our clients. I think maybe that's something that our clients don't always know, but we really do but begin to love these people that we're working with, because we're working with them on, one of the most intimate moments of their life. And yeah, when those cancellations happen, it's heartbreaking for not just them, but for us as vendors too, because we are so invested in their relationship.
Absolutely. I feel like that's also one of the tricky parts of talking about the contracts and the money going back, because it becomes, we're all professionals, but in a very personal industry.
Yes.
And it overlaps. I am still really close friend. I'm good friends with a lot of my clients. We hang out, we see each other, we celebrate parties together. It's like, so I get that when something like this happens and your contract reads, it's non-refundable, you want to refund it because you care about them and you're hurting with them, alongside them. But it's almost a disservice to the industry when we all start feeling that way and doing that, because then it almost allows the clients to think like that's the norm and they should be getting that money back. This didn't, we didn't create this to happen, and they certainly didn't, but it's not fair that only one person is at risk. It's definitely a group effort here. I think all vendors have been trying really hard to do the right thing by their clients. But the truth is it's impacted everyone across the board in negative ways. But I also see a lot of positives. So I don't want to talk too negatively about it because I know it's hard and no one wants to, hear that. But I also am finding that so many people are creative and coming up with awesome ideas of other things you can do, and cute little like elopement packages, and people going online and just giving their services for free just to help clients get through this, or people get through this. There's a lot of amazing things that are happening at the same time. This pandemic can bring out the best in people.
No, I agree. And I think that it helps to put a lot of things into perspective for people about what's really important. Even though it is a tough time. So just to close, what are some last words of wisdom that you could give to couples and vendors?
Couples, I think you need to just be prepared for what is to come. I know that the information is rolling out really, really slowly, and they're doing that to keep people safe. And I think that's really important to remember. I don't want to get into the politics of COVID, but there's a lot of just emotion and feeling behind how things are rolling out in Virginia in general. And I think they're doing the best they can with the information they have. I think you need to know what a wedding is going to look like for 50 people during this time. And if you're okay with that, then that's amazing. And I think you should move forward with it. If you're not okay with that, then you need to be having the real talk with your fiance, your families, your vendors, and start putting some dates on hold as your backup. But take time to think about it, because I think there's pros and cons to both. And if the date is super important to you and you really thought you were going to be married on that date and you just don't want to change the date, then you still can have a beautiful wedding. No one's telling you have to change your date or move your date. You just have to accept the difference of what it's going to be. As far as vendors go, I'm just sending a lot of love out there to vendors, because I know this has been really hard on them. I see it from both perspectives. I see my clients hurting. I see vendors hurting. So I'm just sending a lot of positive vibes. I just have to say that, again, during negative times, amazing things come from amazing people. And all my vendors have hands down just been like, yeah, we'll move the date, no penalty, this, that. Like, it's just been amazing to see so many people working together to try to find a new date, to try to avoid cancellations, and just to make it work. So I am lucky that I work with such a dream team of vendors, and I love, I love the people I work with because they take care of me and they take care of my clients. So it's been pretty, so yeah, my heart just goes out to you. I know it's been hard, but I'm looking forward to seeing you all too. I miss our mixers, Candace. I miss seeing our faces. For how nervous I get up on that stage talking to everyone. I miss everyone. I feel like that's just been really hard.
Yeah, it has been hard. Well, hopefully we will get through this soon and I'll be able to actually see you and hug you and not have to stay 6 feet away. But it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
It'll be soon.
I hope fall. My biggest concern is, a lot of high expectations that fall is going to be normal. I don't think fall is going to be normal. I think they're going to open it to 50 people soon here in Virginia. Friday they're supposed to. And then I think it's going to take a little longer before they up that number. I do hope it's by fall, but my gut is that they're only going to go another 50, maybe to 100.
Right.
So, it's something to really consider too. But 100 people at a wedding, I mean, that's a gorgeous number. I love those weddings. They're manageable, they're personal, they're really lovely. So lots of positives.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me for so long today. Trying to get all this working. This is a lot of really great information. And I'm going to link your website within the video. So if anybody wants to click on there and maybe they're planning a wedding and they need to get in touch with a fabulous planner, then they can reach out to you.
I'd love that. And if anyone's going through a hard time and they don't have a planner, they don't feel like they're getting the answers they need, I'm happy to give a consult. People need to know what to do next. It's important.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Candace. I miss you like crazy. I can't wait to work with you again.
Yes. Thanks, lady. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you soon.
Yes.
At some point, I will see you.
Hey.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.